In the heart of Solihull, United Kingdom, a chilling discovery awaited paramedics on August 9, 2020. A distraught mother, Nicola Priest, sat beside her daughter's, her grief seemingly palpable. But beneath the surface of this tragic scene lay a sinister truth, a dark reality that would shatter all assumptions. As the truth began to unravel, a haunting tale of neglect and unspeakable evil emerged. What secrets lay hidden behind Nicola's mask of maternal devotion? And what drove her to commit an act so heinous it would leave a community shattered forever? Tragedy in Solihull. The year was 2020. The world was gripped by the fear of the coronavirus, a new and unsettling illness that had turned daily routines upside down. Even in Kingshurst, a quiet neighborhood in Solihull, the shadow of the pandemic loomed. Yet, amidst the anxieties of a world on hold, a different kind of darkness was about to unfold in one particular home. On a seemingly ordinary day, August 9, 2020, at precisely 11, Nicola Priest dialed 999, the emergency number in the UK, desperately requesting an ambulance to rush to her home. Her daughter, Kayle Jayde Priest, a little girl of just 3 years old, needed immediate medical attention. But by the time the sirens wailed and emergency responders arrived at the doorstep, the had already taken hold. Kayle was, and a chilling detail emerged. She hadn't just away. Medical examination revealed she had been for some time before the call was even made. This seemingly ordinary day in Kingshurst had taken a horrifying turn, and to understand how it came to this, we need to rewind a bit to the beginning of Kayle's short. Kayle's story began much brighter, on January 31, 2017, the day she entered the world. While details about her biological father remain unclear, a man named Dan Gregory stepped into her and her mother's lives, becoming a constant and loving presence. The small family, including Dan's mother, shared a home in Kingshurst. Dan fondly described Kayle as a constantly smiling, beautiful, and innocent girl. There was no doubt he loved her as if she were his own. Kayle attended the Caterpillars playgroup in the area, where she was known as a happy youngster. She had a particular fondness for playing with dolls and prams, often pretending to care for them as if they were her siblings. Nursery staff remember her as an energetic and busy child, always self-driven and eager to play. To keep up with Kayle, one had to be quick and nimble, as she was affectionately described as a busy little bee. Little did anyone know, however, that the carefree days of playing with dolls and attending playgroups would soon be replaced by a darkness no child deserves. From care to chaos. The seemingly peaceful world Nicola had built for herself and Kayle crumbled unexpectedly. By July 2019, Nicola and her boyfriend Dan had separate ways. Following this, Nicola moved with her daughter to Flat 14, Kingshurst House, on Stonebridge Crescent. This new location also marked the beginning of a new relationship for Nicola, with a man named Callum Redfern. Life in Flat 14 was a far cry from the calmness Kayle might have known before. The third-floor flat buzzed with a chaotic energy that likely mirrored the turmoil within Nicola herself. Once bedtime rolled around, things wouldn't exactly settle down. Nicola and Callum would crank up the music, and according to neighbors, parties raged well into the night. A peek into Kayle's bedroom offered a glimpse in. Unlike most children's rooms, it lacked the basic comforts many take for granted. There was no soft glow of a bedside lamp, no curtains to block out the harsh light of day, and no plush carpeting to cushion her steps. Toys were scarce, and a stairgate functioned as a barrier, seemingly restricting her movement within the room itself. This bare-bones space stood in stark contrast to Nicola's priorities. At a time when her daughter's well-being should have been paramount, Nicola had managed to save £1,000 from her government benefits. This wasn't for necessities or Kayle's needs. It was used to buy a BMW for Callum. Unfortunately, the joyride was short-lived. Within 6 days, the car was pulled over by the police due to Callum's reckless driving. To make matters worse, he wasn't insured, and the car was ultimately impounded and crushed. When visitors came to the flat, often after Nicola's mother contacted social services with concerns, Nicola would tell them that she was in the process of redecorating and hadn't yet gotten to Kayle's room. However, the state of the room spoke volumes, painting a different picture than the one Nicola tried to portray. One visitor recounted a particularly disturbing incident. A hungry Kayle had been spotted pleading with her mother for food. This incident showed the neglect she suffered in the chaotic environment that was supposed to be her home. The final hours of Kayle Jayde Priest. The evening of August 8, 2020, cast a long shadow over what was to come. Just hours before Nicola would discover her daughter Kayle's, a different scene unfolded in their cramped third-floor flat. Nicola's boyfriend, Callum Redfern, arrived with a bottle of vodka, accompanied by his friend Matthew Allport. Little Kayle was eating when they entered the flat. It seemed Nicola and Callum hadn't seen each other in a while, and they were eager for some alone time. After a while, the routine of bedtime arrived for Kayle. Nicola, with Callum by her side, settled her daughter into sleep. A few minutes later, the quietude of the flat was shattered. Matthew, Callum's friend, heard what he described as whining coming from Kayle's room. The little girl clearly wasn't ready for sleep and wanted to play more. As her cries persisted, Matthew heard Nicola's bedroom door open and shut. Matthew couldn't discern what was happening behind the closed door, but a tense silence followed. Approximately 10 minutes later, he heard Callum shout, "Kayle's been sick, Nicky. Let's get her in the bath." After that, there were no more sounds of crying. Callum and Matthew were captured on CCTV leaving the flat at 8:35 p.m. that very night. Nicola, meanwhile, continued with a seemingly normal online routine. She exchanged messages with friends and even posted on social media. The facade she presented to the virtual world couldn't have been more at odds with the tragedy unfolding within the walls of her flat. Experts would later testify in court that Kayle likely around midnight. The following day, August 9th, Nicola would find her daughter. The horror of that night remains shrouded in what transpired behind closed doors. What happened during those critical moments between Callum's outburst and his departure alongside Matthew? Why did Kayle's cries cease, and what condition was she in when placed in the bath? These were questions that would haunt investigators as they pieced together the tragic events that led to Kayle's. In the aftermath of discovering Kayle's, Nicola revealed that she was enveloped in a whirlwind of and grief. According to her later interview with the police, her first instinct was to reach out to Callum. Nicola frantically dialed his number, but there was no answer. Desperate for some form of support, she then messaged him saying, "You need to answer, I'm shaking. I'm not going to live no more." Unable to get through to Callum, Nicola tried to call her mother, sending text messages begging her to answer. However, her mother couldn't pick up the phone as she was at work. Desperate, Nicola then dialed 999 and was instructed to perform chest compressions and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on Kayle Jayde. Recalling the moment to police, she explained that the emergency operator told her to place her hands flat on Kayle's chest. She responded that Kayle was only 3, so they advised her to use just one hand. Nicola recounted how she followed the instructions, performing chest compressions by counting to 30 each time, followed by mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and counting to 5. Despite her efforts, she felt that Kayle wasn't coming back and repeatedly told the emergency operator that her daughter was. Nicola described her struggle to continue the resuscitation, noting that Kayle's lips had turned purple and she was trembling throughout the ordeal. She confessed that she couldn't stop thinking about the traumatic event. Unveiling the horror. The news of Kayle's shockwaves through the hearts of those who knew and loved her. Among them was her stepfather, Dan Gregory, who was understandably submerged in grief. Kayle, according to Dan, played a significant role in his life, leaving a void that her absence could never fill. Unable to express the depth of his sorrow in words alone, Dan took action. He established a GoFundMe page, a platform designed to raise money through crowdfunding. The purpose of the page was twofold. Donations could either contribute towards covering the costs associated with Kayle's or be used to create a lasting memorial in her honor. This memorial could take many forms, perhaps a permanent tribute at a cherished location or a foundation established in Kayle's name. Regardless of the chosen path, the intent was clear: to ensure that Kayle's memory would live on. As the devastating news of Kayle Jayde's spread through the community, heartbroken locals gathered outside the block where she had lived, setting up a poignant memorial with pink balloons, teddy bears, and joyful pictures of the happy and beautiful little girl. Neighbors were stunned and deeply saddened by the tragic event. In the midst of grief, rumors began to swirl, fueled by speculation about what had truly led to Kayle's untimely. Chelsea Hughes, a resident of Kingshurst, recounted how some locals speculated that Kayle might have somehow accessed, given her mother's reputation for hosting parties in the area. Others worried she might have fallen from a window, hoping for a less awful explanation. However, the autopsy conducted on Kayle's body would soon dispel these rumors and reveal the heartbreaking truth: she had been beaten to. This official answer destroyed any hope some people held on to. It replaced it with a cold, hard fact that would forever scar the community. Dr. Brett Lockyer, the forensic pathologist who performed Kayle's autopsy, painted a horrific picture of the she endured. His findings laid bare the extent of her. Dr. Lockyer explained to the jury that Kayle's injuries were consistent with a. He pointed to a specific mark on her face, a fingerprint, which he believed was likely caused by forceful squeezing or a. But the true depth of the horror lay within Kayle. Dr. Lockyer described severe internal injuries inflicted by several blows. These blows, he explained, were the equivalent of being or even stepped on in her abdomen. The impact left her with devastating consequences. Brain injuries were just one part of the story. Her tiny had sustained significant, including a puncture and a ruptured intestine. Dr. Lockyer emphasized that the injuries weren't isolated. They were widespread across her abdomen, suggesting multiple impacts. The severity was shocking. He likened the force she endured to being struck by a car traveling at 40 miles per hour or falling from a 3-story building onto concrete. Dr. Lockyer's testimony wasn't the only damning evidence. A closer medical examination revealed a horrifying truth about Kayle's life beyond the brutal that took it. These examinations uncovered a history of injuries, a grim timeline of pain and neglect that painted a far more sinister picture than anyone could have imagined. At one point, she had suffered broken in her lower legs and a broken stomach. Later, during courtroom proceedings, the prosecution presented graphic details that deeply moved several jurors to tears. It was revealed that Kayle had suffered a total of 68 identifiable injuries over a period of time. Shockingly, many of these injuries had gone untreated, indicating that Kayle had endured a significant amount of pain throughout much of her short life. The revelation painted a distressing picture of the suffering Kayle had silently endured, sparking outrage and heartbreak among those present in the courtroom. Echoes of neglect. Investigators also began to uncover compelling evidence against Nicola and her boyfriend, Callum. Among the most damning were text messages exchanged on July 24, 2020, just days before Kayle's. In these messages sent to Callum, Nicola chillingly expressed frustration and anger towards her daughter. One of the messages reads, "I'm gonna kill her because she keeps leaving the living room or going in the kitchen, so I've paled her one and smacked her for dirtying her nappy." Callum responded callously, saying, "Good, give her one from me." Nicola reassured him, saying, "I will, babe." 3 days later, Callum messaged Nicola expressing his frustration. "I'm going to keep the little brat away from me. Sick of your daughter." These messages painted a stark and heartbreaking picture of the uncaring and attitude that both Nicola and Callum exhibited towards Kayle. Their callous remarks and actions underscored the tragic reality of the neglect and that Kayle endured in her short life. Witnesses from the neighboring flats also painted a disturbing picture of life inside Nicola and Kayle's home. According to their accounts, which began from the time Nicola moved in around mid-2019, a constant undercurrent of tension seemed to permeate their thin walls. Instead of the usual sounds of a happy home with a playful child, neighbors reported hearing Nicola Kayle with real regularity. These weren't words of encouragement or playful reprimands. They were harsh commands like, "Shut up," "Go away," or "Leave me alone." Even more concerning, neighbors described a chilling pattern whenever Kayle. Instead of soothing her daughter's tears, they claimed Nicola would resort to what seemed like deliberate attempts to silence the little girl's. This often involved turning up the music very loud, seemingly with the intention of drowning out the sounds of Kayle's. One particularly unsettling incident involved a loud bang followed by Kayle's. According to the neighbors, this was followed by Nicola's voice, allegedly attempting to fabricate an explanation for the noise. They claimed to have heard her, "I'll just say she fell off the bed." This offhand remark, allegedly made to explain away a potentially serious situation, raised serious red flags about Nicola's willingness to protect her child and the overall dynamic within the household. When Nicola was interviewed by the police, she was asked who she believed was responsible for her daughter's. She pointed the finger at Callum. Nicola claimed she had heard 3 to 5 coming from Kayle's bedroom in the flat on Stonebridge Crescent, Kingshurst, the night before her daughter was found unresponsive. Recounting the moment she discovered her daughter's on the morning of August 9th, Nicola described how she dropped to the floor and in anguish. When asked why she didn't immediately call 999, she said she didn't know how to approach it. In his own police interview, when Callum was asked how Kayle's had affected him, he responded with chilling indifference, saying, "It's not my child. It's not really affected me." His cold and detached response further highlighted the neglect and lack of empathy that surrounded Kayle's short and life. Nicola's online acts. More evidence surfaced that painted a disturbing picture of Nicola's neglect towards Kayle. CCTV footage, retrieved from Kingshurst House, the Solihull apartment building where they resided, offered a chilling glimpse into the final hours Kayle spent with her mother. The video captured the two of them inside an elevator at their apartment building. Instead of the warm interactions you'd expect between a mother and daughter, the footage revealed a chilling distance. Nicola, Kayle's mother, seemed completely preoccupied. Her gaze repeatedly flicked between the mirrored reflection of herself and the screen of her phone, as if lost in another world. Meanwhile, little Kayle was left to her own devices. The video showed her periodically glancing up at her mother's face, perhaps seeking attention or a sign of affection. The most striking detail, however, was the complete lack of physical contact. Throughout the entire elevator ride, there wasn't a single touch between them. Nicola didn't reach out to hold Kayle's hand, offer a reassuring hug, or even a simple pat on the head. This absence of physical connection, captured so starkly on camera, only amplified the emotional disconnect that seemed to exist between mother and daughter in those final moments. Now, weeks before her passing, Kayle appeared in a series of TikTok videos posted by her mother, Nicola. These videos, while seemingly innocuous on the surface, would later take on a disturbing new light in the wake of Kayle. One particular video depicted Nicola engaging in a seemingly playful dance routine. However, a closer look revealed a troubling interaction. Nicola grabbed Kayle's head, moving it from side to side in supposed rhythm with the music. While the intent may have been lighthearted, the lack of tenderness and the element of constraint cast a shadow of unease. Another video showcased Nicola grabbing Kayle's arms, manipulating them into mimicking her own dance moves. Here again, the focus seemed to be on Nicola's performance, with Kayle reduced to a reluctant prop. The joy and connection typically associated with such parent-child activities were noticeably absent. Nicola's online presence also yielded a collection of video tributes dedicated to Kayle. The first, uploaded on September 7, 2020, presented a slideshow of pictures featuring a smiling Kayle. The caption, "My baby," felt hollow in light of the neglect Kayle had allegedly endured. One couldn't help but wonder if the sentiment expressed online mirrored the care Kayle received in life. 10 days later, Nicola uploaded another video. This time she appeared tearful, mouthing along to the lyrics of a song titled "To My Parents" by Anna Clendening. The song's lyrics spoke of regret and missed opportunities. "I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, I know I messed up bad. Should have done better." The choice of music, coupled with Nicola's emotional display, raised a troubling question. Were these lyrics a genuine expression of remorse or a carefully curated performance for online consumption? The trend of Nicola's online tributes to Kayle continued. A third video surfaced, this time featuring a collage of photos. Some were innocent snapshots of Kayle, but others included images of flowers left at Kingshurst House. The caption accompanying the video read, "I love you so much, darling mommy will never forget you ever, Angel." The sentiment appeared heartfelt, a mother professing undying love for her child. However, the facade of mourning appeared short-lived. Just days after posting these seemingly tributes to her daughter, Nicola's online activity took a sharp turn. The dissonance only deepened in the following days. A flurry of new videos appeared, showcasing Nicola dancing to upbeat rap and R&B tracks. She mimed along to the music, seemingly carefree, and even uploaded a video flaunting a recent makeup purchase. One caption, amidst this display of flippancy, simply read, "Dancing always helps me." The stark contrast between Nicola's online persona and the gravity of her situation was impossible to ignore. Here, a woman who had just lost her daughter seemingly found solace in self-absorbed social media activity. The question lingered. Was this a genuine coping mechanism or a carefully crafted performance aimed at a social media audience? Seeking justice. Nearly a year after the Kayle, Nicola Priest and Callum Redfern stood trial. Nicola, with no prior criminal record, faced charges of cruelty to a child stemming from Kayle's. Callum, however, was acquitted of this specific accusation. During Nicola's cross-examination, a specific incident from July 12, 2020 came under scrutiny. Prosecutors alleged Kayle had sustained from running into a door handle. Nicola's defense hinged on a claim of forgetfulness. She admitted neglecting to inform the police about the incident, attributing it to a poor memory and the overwhelming nature of daily life. When pressed about whether Kayle's behavior ever proved difficult, Nicola conceded that her daughter, like most children, occasionally acted out in ways she found bothersome. The focus then shifted to the incriminating CCTV footage. Prosecutors seemingly aimed to highlight a pattern of neglect through the video evidence. Nicola defended her actions by citing fatigue, claiming she had been up all night prior to the elevator ride captured on camera. In a further attempt to explain her behavior, Nicola mentioned her previous boyfriend's alleged video game addiction, suggesting it may have consumed a significant portion of his time and attention. This detail, however, remained unsubstantiated. Nicola's emotional state was evident as the trial progressed. When directly confronted with the notion that she didn't care for Kayle, she vehemently denied. She expressed her love and longing for her daughter, insisting, "I cared for that little girl and I miss her so much." When questioned about the TikTok videos she had posted, Nicola explained that she wanted to be happy for Kayle. She expressed that making the videos was her way of coping with her grief. Nicola insisted that she hadn't noticed any significant bruises on Kayle or any signs of internal. She claimed that the only thing she had observed was Kayle being, which she attributed to her food. "I didn't think anything of it," she stated, insisting that she had no idea her daughter had suffered such severe. Throughout the cross-examination, Nicola firmly denied ever hurting her daughter, especially in the manner that caused the fatal. She repeatedly emphasized that she would never intentionally harm Kayle. From tragedy to verdict. With all the evidence available, the prosecution meticulously pieced together the horrific events of the night of August 8, 2020. According to their reconstruction, Nicola and Callum intended to get. However, their plans were shattered when Kayle refused to go to sleep and insisted on playing instead. This seemingly trivial event enraged the couple, leading to a brutal that ultimately resulted in Kayle's. The extent of the violence remained unclear. West Midlands police investigators were unable to definitively determine whether one person inflicted the fatal or if both Nicola and Callum participated in the. The jury, however, reached a clear verdict. While they acquitted the couple of, they found them both guilty of manslaughter. Delivering the sentences, the judge addressed Nicola directly. He emphasized her crucial failing, her inaction in seeking medical help. "A simple call at the right time," he stated gravely, "could have saved Kayle's life." He further condemned their dishonesty throughout the investigation, with Nicola demonstrably fabricating parts of her testimony and Callum opting to remain silent altogether. The judge described Kayle as the result of a ferocious, leaving no doubt that the couple intended to inflict serious. However, the judge also acknowledged the mitigating factors in Nicola's case. He recognized the potential influence Callum exerted over her, particularly given her reported infatuation with him. He conceded that the COVID-19 lockdown restrictions might have exacerbated the situation, creating a more environment. Yet the judge stressed that Nicola still had opportunities to intervene and protect her daughter, a vulnerable child completely dependent on her mother's care. He held her accountable for failing to seek help, a crucial omission that ultimately cost Kayle her life. The judge acknowledged the genuine grief Nicola undoubtedly felt due to the loss of her daughter. He also noted a degree of remorse on her part. Taking all these factors into account, he sentenced Nicola to 15 years in prison. Callum, on the other hand, received a slightly shorter sentence of 14 years. The courtroom witnessed a stark contrast in their reactions. Nicola wept openly, burying her face in her wrists as the sentence was handed down. Callum, in contrast, remained impassive, showing no outward sign of emotion. The aftermath of the trial was steeped in heartbreak and anger. The public outcry was immense, with many expressing outrage at the couple's actions and grief for the young life. Callum's father, Andrew Redfern, lashed out at Nicola in a media interview. He painted a picture of Nicola as a neglectful and manipulative mother, portraying Callum as a misguided follower. His claims served to further vilify Nicola in the public eye. In the end, the heavy sentences delivered by the judge served as a form of justice for Kayle, but the true cost of this remained immeasurable. A young life was extinguished, a family fractured beyond repair, and a community was left grappling with the weight of this crime. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.